and let us all do we can to build a better future.
Jacobin, they agree with Jimmy Dore. Jacobin agrees with Jimmy Dore. Why is that? What's going on? What is this? This is madness. How is that possible? Well, Jacobin, this came out, yes, this is on January 7th. By fighting Kevin McCarthy's bid to be the next Speaker of the House, the right wing of the Republican Party won significant concessions that will make it a powerful player in Congress. The left should learn to replicate its tactics for egalitarian ends. Oh my goodness. So the left needs to learn how to be like Republicans. What? What, Jacobin? Are you saying Jimmy Dore's correct? Well, look at this right here. This is hilarious. As I've read earlier, right here. Something, okay, so again, there is no reason why good cannot triumph as often as evil. Kurt Varga wrote in this Sirens of a Titan, the triumph of anything is a matter of organization. If there are such things as angels, I hope that they are organized along the lines of the mafia. Something similar can be said about the American left. Democratic socialists fight for Democratic socialists fight. All right, wow, for universal health care, an end of the climate catastrophe. Yeah, right. And mass incarceration. Yeah, right. And economic democracy. This is a terrible sentence. Delete that. That is a false statement right there. But if we're going to triumph over the forces of reaction and win these changes and more, we're going to need to learn to fight harder and smarter. Today, that means taking a page from the American political equivalent of the mafia, the right wing of the Republican Party, and also the right wing of the Democratic Party, too. In the last week, the Republican right fought Kevin McCarthy's bid to become Speaker of the House and showed everyone how to play political hardball to build power. The left, with growing socialist caucuses at the state level and a growing bench of progressive representatives in D.C., needs to learn some lessons. Well, there was a situation. It was a thing called forced to vote in 2021, in which a lot of people on the left, progressives, were trying to rally and unify the progressive base, the left base, in order to hold Nancy Pelosi accountable for her actions. To hold Nancy Pelosi at least accountable and force a vote so that we can get Medicare for all for the citizens. Now, there was a good chance that it could fail, but at least it would shine a light on the heartless lawmakers that would not give us health care at the height of the pandemic. Can you imagine what a unified progressive base would look like? Because now we would have all these politicians, both Democrat and Republican, accountable. We know where they voted for. And think about how that could have benefited all of us as a united progressive base to vote them out of office in 2022 in the midterm election cycle. We could have done something. We could have organized. We could have planned. We could have. There was a lot that could have been done. But no, we were told by Fat Tony and his fantastic friends, oh, keep your powder dry. And by Fat Tony, I'm talking about chunky yogurt. Where's the plane? Where's the plane? Where's the plane at? We need to get the plane. So I want to pull up this part of the article here. Something for all of you to see with your own eyes. Democratic socialists use electoral politics and our position in legislatures to build our popular base. What? Where? I haven't seen it, especially in a period like the one we're in now, where major reforms are not on the agenda. Offices in Congress and the state legislature can be bully puppets from which to spread democratic socialist ideas and rally millions to a program of transformational change. As Bernie Sanders, the cuck, the nutless wonder, once said, the role of a socialist in the White House would be to serve as an organizer-in-chief. A similar job description applies to socialist legislatures. Well, gee, I remember, Bernie, when you said it's your good friend, Joe Biden, your good friend, Joe Biden, a union guy. He would be there for workers. Oh, wait, what happened to the railroad workers? That's right, they got screwed over. Fulfilling that role requires that we use every tactic available to us to get our message out there and explain to millions of people the nature of the political battles being waged. In the last few weeks, the American right showed us just how much room there is in Congress to propagandize for one's politics and build power. Take notes. Our time will come. It already did happen in 2021, and we should be prepared to fight as they were. What? And here's another little segment here I'd like to read to all of you. Imagine in 2024 that Democrats retake the House of Representatives. For weeks leading up to the election to make Hakeem Jeffries the next Speaker of the House, the left goes on the offensive, appearing on major talk shows, blanketing social media, and organizing rallies in critical districts to oppose Jeffries' ascent to leadership. Well, gee, AOC and everyone else seem to bend over backwards to appease Jeffries, and they all voted for him. So the squad's not going to do that, Jacobin. Not only have right-wing Republicans shown that such a fight could strengthen a minority's hand in Congress, but such a fight would have the added value of drawing out the contrasts between Democratic leadership's conservative agenda and the left's more popular program. My rear end, because that's not the case. That's not the case at all. And speaking of case, I want to pull up this video from Case Study QB, who, mind you, again, please follow him on Twitter. He's doing fantastic work discussing the potential future for forced to vote moments in the House. That's right. Corporate media is talking about it. You know that Fat Tony and his fantastic friends are probably having a heart attack right now.
Why did the Freedom Caucus focus on the motion to vacate? And how soon could we see perhaps another speakership battle?
Yeah, I think that's the key point. And one of the things that they really held out for as they negotiated with McCarthy and his lieutenants. And basically, they can hold it over his head whenever there's a future disagreement down the road. They can put forward this motion that would force the vote to potentially.
What? Hold on. I'm getting old, folks. My hearing isn't as good as I thought it once was.
Hold it over his head whenever there's a future disagreement down the road. They can put forward this motion that would force the vote to.
Force the vote. I want to play that one more time. Because in case you know, probably Cenk Uygur is rewinding that line too. It's like, oh, it's forced to vote. It's Jimmy Dore's fault. Forced to vote. Even BS DNC's talking about it.
Over his head whenever there's a future disagreement down the road. They can put forward this motion that would force the vote to potentially vacate McCarthy's speakership, and then we will see more rounds of exactly what we saw over the past few days. And I think it is the threat that they have over McCarthy, the ease at which they can call that vote, that will make it possible for them to continue to exert their power. And I know we'll continue to talk about this, but this is just the beginning of what is going to be an extremely difficult speakership for Kevin McCarthy, because his majority is so narrow. And there's a lot of business before the House. We're not expected to see a lot of bipartisan legislative activity, but there's still a lot of funding bills that need to be passed. And that's where we're going to see a lot of the drama moving forward.
A lot of drama, folks. But again, I also want to pull up this tweet here as well. It's from Brianna Joy Gray. She does fantastic work too. It's worth remembering that part of the pushback to force a vote in 2020, 2021 was making sure demands were within Pelosi's purview. In other words, ask for things within her control. The focus on the floor vote was in part because she could act on that without Congress. Now, again, we don't have time to play the full video here, but we'll see what happens with the rules package vote. But I emphasize executive orders in my interview with Ro Khanna last week, precisely because there are limits to what the speaker has influence over. I made this point explicitly in my current affairs piece from December of 2020. And unlike other progressive priorities, such as student debt cancellation or the provision of stimulus checks, initiating a floor vote is wholly within Nancy Pelosi's purview. It's a power she can exercise unilaterally to protect her position without relying on Biden to modify his policy priorities to protect her. Recently leaked audio of a contentious meeting between Biden and the leadership of civil rights organizations exposed how unyielding Biden can be to any agenda not his own. That's the establishment for you folks. And already now, again, obviously this is corporate media, and corporate media has its own perspective, its own point of view. But force the vote was a real tactic. It was a real plan for organization. And this isn't about really Jimmy Dore or Breonna Joy Gray or anyone else that was for force the vote. What we were trying to do was fight for Medicare for all. Fight so we can get a floor vote, so that something can be done at the height of a pandemic. So many lives here in America were ruined because of the purposeful inaction of our Congress. They effectively abandoned us. And yet these same lawmakers have gold-plated healthcare. These politicians, both Democrat and Republican, that are protected by corporate media can get away with abandoning us. So just remember, and if you haven't seen the full interview that I did with Jimmy Dore, with my colleagues Farron and Jerry, please check it out. Because let this situation that we saw last week with the House, with Kevin McCarthy getting trying to fight for his speakership, not once, but 15 times. Let this serve as a lesson that, yes, force the vote can work. It is possible. But you can't get anything done in the Democratic Party. AOC and the squad will never do that. They didn't have the soul or the heart to challenge Nancy Pelosi. And they sure as hell don't have the backbone or the strength to go up against Hakeem Jeffries.